Warm welcome, everyone, and best greetings. Good afternoon. I'm happy to be opening up this talk today, taking care of the soul, and feels a very nourishing, nurturing, powerful topic. And our talk's interactive, so very welcome to share any thoughts, any questions that might come up in the chat. And was thinking on this subject. Our speaker, Patricia, is based in Brazil and is a dental surgeon. And she also completed postgraduate studies in positive psychology and practicing Raja Yoga for the past 34 years, teaching, practicing. And I was thinking, when you go to the dentist, they teach you the hygiene, but this is so much better, this preventative, rather than trying to treat and cure the problems. So it'd be maybe something similar with the soul. And what is it that we can do to keep the soul healthy and taking care? So yeah, so nice to meet again, Patricia, and look forward to hear your sharing, and there'll be some discussion. Thank you, and good morning to you.
Yeah, it's early here. It's 8 o'clock in the morning in Brazil at the moment. And we also have a sunny, beautiful Sunday. So many thanks for the invitation. And it's a pleasure actually to be part of it, because I really admire very much the way you kind of involve people in thinking, in questioning, in sharing. And I think that this really brings another level of understanding for everybody than just to kind of keep passive listening, no? So it's really kind of inspiring way of involving people in a discussion of a specific topic. And it's interesting when we think about taking care of the soul, because we spend so much in taking care of the body in so many different ways, no? Especially nowadays. And of course, this comes from a deep identification with the body that we have developed. Anyway, the entire world have developed this identification. So we take it for granted, that we kind of are a body according to the shape of our body, to the beauty of our body, to that gives value. It's kind of we understand that that's what gives value to our life or to us. And I think that through the practice of Raja Yoga specifically, we come to understand it from a completely different perspective, that we are a soul, basically. We are a spiritual being, we are energy, and this energy inhabits this body and expresses itself through the body and experiences the world through the body. So of course we have to take care of our body, but we are not the body, and we have been neglecting the soul for a long, long time. First, because we don't understand exactly what it is, the soul. And so I think that the first aspect in terms of taking care of the soul is to really make it very clear the fact that we are a soul when we have a body. We are this star of energy, this star of light, and we use this body to express ourselves. And I like very much this very basic example that we learn when we do the first introduction course in Raja Yoga, which is this analogy that the soul is the driver and the body is the car, no? And so we use the car to travel, to do the journey, to go to different places, to experience different places. And as much as we have to take care of our car in terms of taking it to the mechanic and putting petrol on it, and anyway, in the past we used to put water, I don't know nowadays, but in the same way we have to take care of our body, of course, because if we have a kind of a car with some problem, it will require a little bit more time and energy to to make it function, let's say. So yeah, we have to take care of our body in terms of keeping it in condition to be used in the best way possible. But we are not the body, we are the soul. We are this amazing conscious energy, which is first of all eternal, which is imperishable. Nothing can really damage the soul, nothing can really happen to the soul, in the sense that I think that the ultimate fear that everyone has is the fear of death. And when we understand that the soul is immortal, so the soul never dies, it removes a lot of insecurities and fears that we might have. And of course, this awareness that we are a soul is something that has to be cultivated, because we have so strong this habit of considering ourselves to be a body, and not just a body, because there are many aspects which are connected with this awareness of being a body. Is the body, is the form of the body, but it's also all the roles that we develop through the body, and also the personality that we develop during our life through the culture, family, influences from the world outside, that it's also connected somehow to the body. So we develop a lot of false identities. And when I say false identities, because all of them are identities which are temporary, which are limited, which are dependent on external situations and contexts to be able to be kind of sustained. And we spend a lot of our time trying to sustain all these identities, and it's really no time to take care of the most important thing, which is the soul, which is the awareness, which is the basic principle that thinks, that feels. Everything which makes sense to the life is connected to the soul. All the experiences we want to have through the body, through the roles, they happen inside the soul. And they not even need the external situations, no, because it's what we are inside that we are able to project to everything which exists outside. So it's a basic equation that we have to understand. It's like we were upside down, thinking that we are a body, and we have to put ourselves, first of all, in the right position to be able to experience life in a completely different way. So what are the basic aspects when we think about taking care of the body, let's say? So one of the aspects of taking care of the body, taking care of the car, is the aspect of cleanliness. So we have to keep it clean. And in the same way, to take care of the soul, we have to keep it clean. And I like very much this metaphor that we use, which is the metaphor of the lotus flower. The lotus flower, which is in the world, which is in the mud, because the lotus flower flourishes in lakes, which has a lot of mud. And but it kind of nurtures itself from this mud in the lake. But it has such a property in the petals that it doesn't get dirty itself. So it keeps its beauty, its colors, completely vivid. And so in the same way, we as souls, we are living in this world which is so full of negativity at this point, when everybody really forgot and kind of disconnected with the truth. So it's a world of falsehood. And at the same time, how to live in such a world full of so many challenges and not be influenced by all of these challenges, but being able to keep your cleanliness inside, being able to keep your purity inside. And it's a matter of being able basically to neutralize the effect of the situations. But then how can we be able to do it? And one of the aspects is to understand that in our essence, or it's part of the consciousness, the awareness that we are a soul, to understand that the soul in its eternal form, it's full, it's completely full. And this fullness, it means that we already have inside ourselves the energy of all the qualities. So we have peace, we have kind of bliss, we have this state of inner power, we have so much love, which is completely unconditional, it's just there. And when we are able to reconnect ourselves with this divine essence, and I say divine because there is even this saying in the Christian religion that we are made like God. No, the human beings are like God. They are the image of God. And of course, not understanding this and identifying ourselves with our form, instead of understanding that we are like God, we made God like us, no, and we put him in this kind of human being, the old man image, which was, I think, made eternal by Michelangelo, no, when he painted this image of the soul meeting the supreme soul, like the old man meeting the man. And actually, it's the contrary. It's that we don't have image, like God doesn't have image. What makes God God is exactly the fact that he is supreme, which means he is constant, which means he never loses his state, his inner state. He never loses his power. And we lose our power because we identify with matter. And when we identify with matter, we put ourselves under the laws that determine matter. And one of these laws is the law that says that we, little by little, we start to lose our energy, basically, our state. And so, but we have inside ourselves these divine aspects, which comes with this state of fullness. And then we consider ourselves to be children of God. So we have God's DNA. It's like God's genes are in us in the form of this energy of each one of these qualities in its fullest capacity, in its purest energy, in its purest way. So we have all of this inside. And when we reconnect, when we are able to understand and to reconnect with this divine essence, instantly we bring this feeling of fulfillment. And we kind of awaken this memory, because we all have this memory of a time in which we lived like this kind of there is a collective memory which people speak about paradise in different religions, in different cultures, with different names and different ways to describe in any way that experience. But there is this collective memory, there is this individual memory, because we are searching for this state of fulfillment. That's what gives kind of energy to our life. It's like this hope that one day we are going to be happy, and one day we are going to experience love, and one day. And because we are identified with our bodies, we try to create this experience through the body. So we try to get this experience from the world, from other people. And as a result, we feel ourselves more and more insecure and more empty. And we all know this. No, I don't have to say this, because it's an experience that we all have. So when we understand that we are a soul, when we reconnect with the soul, we awaken automatically. This memory, it's awakened. And when this memory is awakened, when we are able to tap into this divine essence, immediately in 1 second, we are able to feel complete, fulfilled. And when we are complete and when we are fulfilled, then we are able to neutralize the effect of all these situations and circumstances around us. That's the only way to be able to neutralize. Otherwise, if we have expectation, if we are expecting to be fulfilled, to take something, then we are vulnerable to all this influence of the world around us. And then it's really impossible to keep yourself clean as a lotus flower, because immediately we are kind of, a little strong word, but contaminated, like by all these kind of different experiences that we know they are in the world. If you look to the world nowadays, what do you think? It looks more like paradise, or it's a little bit more like hell, no? Like if we kind of join, we put all the elements together, no? In terms of people feeling so insecure and so afraid and so miserable sometimes and so empty and so much depression and so much sorrow and so much tiredness and etc., no? And so to be really free from the influence of this energy, this atmosphere, and all the circumstances which are created by this, because actually another principle understanding is that we create our reality. No? So we create our reality from inside. So if inside we are empty, what we are going to create for ourselves. No? So it's going to be this reality, this kind of this drama, as you want to say, no? Understanding life as this amazing theater, no? It's amazing play where you play, we play so many different roles. So it's going to be a drama more connected with tragedy than with really kind of a comedy or something which is kind of light, no, and the kind of experience that we want to have. So the first aspect is cleanliness, is to cultivate cleanliness, and the way to cultivate cleanliness is really to cultivate this state, this inner state of fulfillment. And then the second aspect to take care is to take care of what are you nurturing yourself. We know that nowadays there is so many philosophies and so many studies about what to eat, what is the healthy food, what's the healthy habits in terms of eating. And it's the same in terms of the soul, but we nurture the soul basically with knowledge, with spiritual knowledge. Because knowledge has many benefits. First benefit is that it increases your inner repertoire. And we need to have a good repertoire to be able to elaborate situations which happen around ourselves in a healthy way, in a way that gives us kind of willpower instead of putting us down, no? In the way that empowers us and puts us as the protagonists of our life instead of putting ourselves as the victims of whatever is going on, because this victim position makes us being completely vulnerable and stuck in the situation. So as much spiritual knowledge we have in terms of who we are, how we work inside, how the mind works, what is the process which goes on inside the soul, what is the purpose of life, is there any purpose of life, and who is God, what is real, what is our reality? Because there are so much that we don't know, like we sometimes live life by the senses, and life lived by the senses is so limited, and that's why many times we don't see the purpose, because we are just trapped in sensorial experiences. And so spiritual knowledge kind of gives us all this repertoire and also opens our horizons, opens our perspective of reality becomes broader. And we start to understand things that before we couldn't understand. So, and as much as nurturing has to be something regular and has to be something constant, we have to eat every day. It's not enough to eat once a week, like every Sunday. It's not enough to eat every Sunday, for instance. You are not going to have enough strength to make the entire week. So in the same way, spiritual knowledge, we have to have a regular and a constant exposition. We have to expose ourselves to this truth, basically, because the essence, we can call it spiritual knowledge, or we can call it the expression of truth. And when we expose ourselves to this truth, to this ultimate truth, in the form of spiritual knowledge, then we can sustain our perspective, then we can keep our horizons open, then we can really elaborate what happens, because things happen every day. It's not just once in a lifetime, once in a week. And otherwise, if we don't expose ourselves, what happens is that we deal with whatever happens by our habits, by our acquired understanding, which puts ourselves again trapped in this field of action which is going on around ourselves non-stop. So we become like, again, dependent on what's going on, because we are not able really to understand what's going on. So I think that that's a second aspect, which is very important to kind of take care of the soul, to nurture it regularly, constantly, with the correct nutrients to make it be able to get free, basically. I think that knowledge gives freedom, truth gives freedom. When you live a life of truth, we are free. When we live a life of falsehood, of illusion, we are all the time fearful that something can be revealed to us many times, no? Because sometimes we are afraid of the truth being revealed to ourselves, because it might demand some change and some transformation. So as much as we are connected with the truth, better it is, and more free we are going to feel. And the last aspect that I put here, it has to do with exercise, Like people nowadays, they do so much different types of exercise. And for me, exercise is practice, basically. Practice of this awareness again and again, to put ourselves in the right awareness, in the right position, so that it becomes our habit again. It becomes easy to live it, to experience it, because otherwise, again, we are going to live life by the old awareness. So practice as much as possible. And yeah, to start with, we might have to create some moments for this, like early in the morning or before going to sleep. We have in Brahma Kumaris this very useful practice, this very useful method of stopping from time to time, or 1 minute every hour, or 2-3 minutes every 2-3 hours. And in these moments, you just remember. You remember who you are. You put yourself in the right position. You kind of give life to this idea that you are a soul. Because many times we have to take care of this. Many times knowledge, it's just an idea. And we kind of we think that what we know we are, and it's not exactly like that. We really have to emerge again and again this awareness. I am a soul. I am completely full. I am this divine being. I am eternal. I am safe. Nothing can really happen to me. So 1 minute cultivating these thoughts in the form of an experience, putting yourself in that position, doesn't matter. I mean, doesn't matter if you are having difficult situations at this exact moment, and if you are kind of feeling miserable at this moment, just breathe deeply and feel, I am full, I am divine. And this awareness and this energy will start to operate in your life. And of course, when you understand that you are already full, it's like you are independent. You don't expect anything from life. But it's a matter of fact that as more fulfilled you are, and as more you are vibrating in that level, in that field of energy, life starts to change around you. And as more as you don't expect from life to give anything to you, life will become abundant, and life will become prosperous, and life will become full of beauty, because that's what you are generating. And things are going to come into perspective, because sometimes a big problem is just lack of perspective, you know? So you have bigger perspective, and so you find solution and you find meaning, because everything is benevolent, basically. Everything. That's one of the spiritual laws. Life is benevolent. And if we don't see the benefit, it's because we cannot really see it from a bigger perspective, because we are trapped somehow. So anyway, I know that my time finished already, you know, because it's an interactive sessions, but that was some of the ideas that I was thinking about, this thing of taking care of the soul. And I think it should be priority. I don't like the idea of should, no, but it should be. I mean, we if you have clarity of what it is truth and what it is real, then naturally we are going to give more importance to this aspect of spirituality in our lives, when we understand that everything else depends on it, on our inner state. So we spend so much time trying to fix the situations around ourselves with their own perspective, the narrow perspective, and irradiating many times energy of worried, of thinking so much waste, and spending all our power, and so we don't have the proper power to go to the solution. So that's basic understanding of spirituality.
Absolutely. I was just thinking, and thank you so much for this this investigation. Because often, even at the physical level, we all know what the best thing to do is in terms of eating, exercise, but the strength to do what we know is right, and the interesting method to actually start with the soul, because it's like starting in the soul, isn't it? The taking care, understanding, and I like the sequence. First, taking care is to understand what we mean by the soul, and this analogy of the car and the driver. So also I like that, you know, the car can be a bit worn out, but it doesn't reflect or mean that the driver is defined. You know, there may be an old car, like someone is older in years, but perhaps we all have experiences of people older, but the soul has no age. They can still be shining, and it that freedom, that little existence, is very nourishing as well. And the soul is like a guest. So this world is temporary, but we are travelers. These things are very obvious, that we are not permanently staying here. And this all is like helping that knowledge. So yeah, I'd like to invite any queries, questions, comments in the chat. I'd like to hear from you a bit about the negativity in the world, yet this lotus image is so beautiful that, you know, when we are awakening this power and truth and freedom, your experiences on this, do you feel that we ever need to step away from anything or anyone. We have the word retreat, which gets used. It implies that we have this stepping back. And I know in some traditions we associate yoga meditation with kind of the metaphorical mountain. Or so your experience of being in the world as a lotus, is there something that we need to do to step away to come with strength, or any thoughts on that?
Well, another aspect which is spiritual knowledge gives to us is the idea of the global family, as souls, as children of God, let's say. It's like we are all connected somehow. And I mean, when your family is passing through so much suffering and people are in so much in need of help, and everybody just thinks about the physical help. Nowadays, here in Brazil, we are having these amazing floods. I don't know if you heard about it, like in the south of Brazil, since 41. They never had so much. I mean, in the extension they have now. The last time it was in 1941, but it was not so severe. And you see people desperate, and everybody, like the countries, doing a lot in terms of physical support, sending clothes and sending food and sending water and sending people to rescue those who are lost. And so many people think about the physical support. But we have also to think about the support to the soul, to the spiritual support, as we were talking about, the care for the soul, taking care for the soul. And in these moments, it's so important that we are present. And you might not be physical present, but we are present through our energy, through our mercy, through our thoughts, so that we can spread vibrations that can give some kind of hope to people. It's something which is inside them. Maybe they don't even know from where it comes. So I don't think that we have to retreat at this moment. On the contrary, I think that we have to be present. I think that we have to be available. And we have to be available even to a higher energy. Like sometimes maybe we don't have the full picture in front of ourselves. But if we sit in contemplation, in reflection, in connection, another aspect that I forgot to say, which is very important actually to take care of the soul, is relationship. It's like relationship. People nowadays, they give so much importance to relationship and this kind of social support. When people, they have social support, they feel empowered. And so in the same way, when we create this relationship with God, which is called Raja Yoga, basically, this connection to kind of being able to feel his presence and put yourself as a channel for this energy to just be spread. And it's going to reach wherever it has to reach. You don't have really to think about someone specifically, but you just put yourself available as a channel for this energy. I think that is going to also give support for those who need. And so I think that it's time for, like, when you have sight and you are living in a place where there are people who are blind, to have sight is so important to help others to find the way. And I think that's not just our responsibility, but it's also our mercy. It makes our heart bigger. And when our heart becomes bigger, we are also able to get more and to receive more. Though it's not our intention, we are not doing something to get a return, to receive a return, but it's inherent that as more bigger is your heart, more you will be able to experience God's love, for instance, because God is love. So the possibility of experience of love is like God, is unlimited. It's like an ocean. And but I have to make my heart bigger and bigger and bigger to be able to grasp this love. And I think that mercy and compassion and service of humanity is one of the ways to make our heart grow somehow. And so, yes, it's our responsibility. Yes, it's our mercy, and it gives the instant return of feeling God's love for you, just because you are kind of making your heart more capable to experience it.
I think it comes back to what you were saying about not having an image, because it is about the soul, which is not the image of the roles we are playing in the drama of life. So for me, that was a training. I mean, when I first heard about God, I wasn't really jumping with joy, because I think I was associating it with a religious image. But this spirituality is more about a practical relationship, as you're saying, but more a connection, not about a devotion or a worshipping or a begging. It's a coming to your power and truth. And I liked what you said about this shared experience. We all have a reference point for perfection and truth and unconditional love. So when we step back from the play, but it would be good to hear more about this, the empathy versus the sympathy, meaning, the love and the connection is also from freedom, isn't it? It's from that detachment, because what can often happen, and you mentioned the scenes at the moment in Brazil with the flooding, often when we see the news, we identify and feel sorrow or sadness, and all sorts of news around the world. We can brings emotions, but from what you're saying, it feels like the help is not coming from insecurity and sorrow, but from a higher consciousness. So it'd be nice to hear a bit more about, how you are managing this freedom or detachment with the love. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because it's two sides of the same coin, no? Like we hear a lot about being loving and detached, and for many people it's opposites, no? Like if you are detached, then you are not loving enough, and you kind of become a little dry and a little insensitive to the pain of the others and to what's going on. And actually, it's the only way to be loving the only way to be detached is to be loving. And this feeling of love comes from this state of fulfillment, as I said before. So when you are able to tap into this divinity, which is there inside of you, kind of claiming to be lived, to be experienced, to be expressed. So when you are able to experience it, you immediately feel yourself so much full of this love in essence, which has kind of the purest energy. That's why I say it's unconditional, because it really doesn't depend on anyone and anything that you do. It's yours already. It's there inside, waiting to be experienced, to be lived, to be brought up to the surface, and in a sense to be kind of expressed somehow. And so because we are fulfilled, and because this fulfillment comes from inside, you don't have expectation, because I think that the aspect of attachment comes because of the expectation that someone is going to give me something, or some experience, or a certain setup is going to give me happiness, and a specific person is going to fulfill my need for love. And then you create this expectation and dependency, because when there is expectation from something which is outside of you, immediately there is dependence. I depend on that setup to fulfill my needs, to be happy. Or I depend on the presence of this person to feel loved. And then you create all these dependence, and then comes the condition. And anyway, we all know what comes as a result of attachment, no? And so it's impossible to be loving, because love means to give, basically, no? The basic principle of love is to give and don't expect in return. And when we are fulfilled, we are able to don't have these expectations, so we don't have dependence, and we are able to give to everyone. And doesn't matter who comes in front of you. That's another aspect, no? Because usually when there is this love connected with attachment, people are ready to give to their dear ones. I give love to my beloved, I give love to my family, I give love to my friends. But then what about all the kind of invisible people which are all the time around yourself? So when you are fulfilled, you start to love everyone. You start to share love to everyone. And as a result, you start also to see the beauty of people, no matter who they are. It's another aspect also, no? People are so enclosed inside them. They are so much fearful that they don't dare to kind of reveal their beauty and to reveal who they really are. So when you love others, you open a kind of a space for people to reveal themselves to you. And you create a relationship which is much, much more based in truth and beauty, no? And so, again, I think that the method is to cultivate your inner state of fulfillment. That's the starting point for everything, even to receive God's love. Because like when you cultivate your inner state of fulfillment and you start to vibrate in this positive way, then easily you are able to enter God's field. No, and when you enter this field, or when you enter this dimension which is divine, then he is the ocean of love. It's like diving in this experience. But even for this, because if you go to God like from this empty space of emptiness, wanting, demanding, asking for, like as kind of miserable people that expect for a favor from God, then we are vibrating a different field, and you cannot reach, I mean, as more as he would want to give, because he doesn't put any condition, no? He's this energy which is kind of abundant, and it's just there vibrating and giving all the time, but I have to go and tap into that field to be able to experience it. And so I think even for this, to cultivate your inner state of fulfillment is essential. Otherwise, we are going to be kind of devotees, as you said, no? And waiting and demanding and asking, like we are not in the same level as him.
Yeah, it feels like we can only benefit others to the extent we're benefited. So giving has to be from that fullness. And when you were sharing, I was reminded when I was quite new to these ideas of the Brahma Kumaris, and with a group of others of similar age, we had a youth retreat, and it really stood out how it was possible to have such like very nourishing, nurturing interactions, but there was no attachment. There was no the usual kind of conditions that might appear after that, the cliquiness, the sort of having to sustain something, and it was just freedom, and it really stood out. I'd never experienced that kind of like friendliness, but also giving everyone their space without preferences. So it's a new experience. There is a question here. Knowledge, you mentioned knowledge is nourishment for the soul. Which knowledge?
I spoke about spiritual knowledge, but I also said that spiritual knowledge means the knowledge that comes from truth. The ultimate truth is God himself. We say God is love, and we also say God is truth. No, this is, I mean, not we say, the world says. It's two ways from which he is praised, truth and love. And so it's like, imagine that God is this absolute reference that never shakes, never loses. And so knowledge would be everything which comes from this point of reference. So it's not just philosophy, let's say, but it's aspects of truth that has the potential to be experienced, to be lived, to be imbibed, and has the potential to kind of awakens, as I said, the divine memory which resides inside of you, if it's understood and worked in the proper way. So I would say that knowledge would be the expression of truth which comes from God himself. And so there are different ways to be able to grasp it. No, we can find it. We can find a kind of a pinch of salt in a sack full of flour, as people say, in the scriptures, in the religions. We can also use our capacity to catch our intuition. Raja Yoga is a philosophy which is very much based in this supreme truth. So we can find it there because it's much more than just a kind of philosophy in the form of information, but it has this capacity to make people experience it. And I think that as more, each one of us, I think that we have truth inside ourselves. And somehow we need some stimulation to be able to awaken this truth and to be able really to understand it from this perspective that comes from inside out and not just something that comes from outside inside, like so much information that is in the world, so much knowledge that is in the world, which is just superficial, let's say. It doesn't have this capacity, you know. And so I think that a pure intellect is able to understand in a different way, is able to catch, is able to kind of capture these aspects of truth in the middle of so much expansion. And so that's how I understand everything that makes you closer to God, everything that makes you closer to God, everything that makes you awaken the truth which is inside yourself. And I think that's spiritual knowledge, that I would call spiritual knowledge. And yeah, it comes from different ways. No? You can find it in different ways.
Reminding me when I first heard some of the ideas, it was something quite simple. It's like you touched on it as well, this fullness, something you already have, and that we don't need to be completed by something out there, another person or an incomplete story. Sometimes we're trying to resolve things or achieve things, and then we feel good, but this understanding or just information that we already have everything we need. In fact, we are already, we just need to experience again in those minutes. And it shifted something. It was as if that constant seeking that's inside subconsciously for that security had just gone in those moments. And I saw there's huge power in knowledge to create a shift. So yeah, resonate with this, and it just builds, doesn't it? That we amazingly don't have to operate with that lower consciousness of always needing from the outside.
It's not a matter of quantity, you know, like people sometimes they measure their knowledge in terms of how many books they have read, how many papers they have written, how many research they have done. It's like scientific methods, you know, that they have applied. And I think that the spiritual knowledge is not really a matter of quantity, but it's a matter of how much are you able to use it, to go deep and to kind of awaken something which is already there, which is your inner wisdom. Wisdom is part of the essence of the soul, actually, you know, and that's why we are so eager for understanding and kind of knowing, you know? So because it's there, it's part of our soul. but it's not in terms of how much, in terms of quantity, in terms of accumulation of hours. It's a matter of a second, actually, like a second that you are able to experience it and awaken something which is like a volcano, which is very powerful. Like there is this expression, even if you would transform the entire forest in paper and the entire ocean in ink, still it was not going to be enough to be able to write all the knowledge, all the truth. So it's not about trying to kind of finding, it's not about quantity, it's about the essence of it, the power that it has.
One thing I think can be challenging is that it is invisible. So we're usually used to, if we want to take care of the body, there are visible signs. I think perhaps when we take care of the soul, the sign is in our mental health. Perhaps we get some sense and happiness, but it feels a bit like, the tree image where we enjoy the tree, but we can't see half. And the roots and the strength of that is what allows that manifest to be strong. So this image comes up, how we need the right intellect to appreciate, because we're so used to doing things for validation and feeling good from outside. Even with knowledge, we might have very rich knowledge, but the old habits, they can die hard, that we're trying to get something from outside, but we're actually working just with the visible and ignoring this invisible aspect, the being, and focusing just on the human. So do you have like a method to come back to this real work, in a way, inner work, to want a better word?
I think that what you said is very, very important, because sometimes even in the name of knowledge or in the name of God or in the name of truth, I mean, we are just perpetuating a kind of, incomplete ways, kind of, and perpetuating some human games of power, which is based in ego, basically, which is this kind of trying to get security from outside, where there is no security at all. The law of the world is that there is no security, there is no constance, there is ups and downs all the time, and you kind of cling into it, trying to be secure, and then you enter this whole game of manipulation in terms of roles and kind of trying to be a good guy from what you think that people will appreciate in you. And then you are trapped again, basically. So I think that more than happiness, this feeling of being consistent inside, there is this feeling that I would say fulfillment, but you could call it consistency, or we could call it this deep peace inside yourself. I think that's the main kind of proof that you are doing the right thing. And this kind of feeling of subtlety also, and to consider that there is much more than just, as I said what our senses can perceive. Actually, the real beauty and the real meaning, let's say, it's beyond. It's this in this another dimension that you can grasp when you have this kind of enough calm and enough serenity. Otherwise, you lose it. You kind of go and come back instantly because of this kind of agitation, in your emotions and your feelings. So it's like you have to be completely serene and completely calm to be able to grasp it and stay there in this kind of experience. And so, but you feel it, and you know when you are being able to do it. And I think that it's important also to use knowledge to recognize all your limitations, because Like the idea is not to use knowledge to try to mimic knowledge, no, or try to put yourself in a certain stereotype and kind of trying to prove that you are a good person, but really to use knowledge as a mirror to be able to see yourself as more clearly as possible, because then there is possibility for transformation. Otherwise, it's like a patient that really doesn't know what is the sickness, so he doesn't have the correct diagnosis, and it's impossible to do the right thing and to go for a process of healing if you don't know what's the sickness, what's the problem. So I think that the idea is to use knowledge to be able to see our negativity, to see our defect, to see our ego, basically, so that we can work out with this. And otherwise, we are going to be trapped, even if we are not conscious of it. Because that's the game that happens by default all the time.
I really like that. And there was a quote from a book written about Raj Yoga. I really liked it. She said, "I lay these ideas alongside my life and I test my own integrity." So it's not that like it's a doctrine or a belief. It's like, it's a mirror to observe. And I really appreciate it. It's not a mimicking. It's easy to the ego will do that, won't it? It's like adopting it, like a nice badge. It could be like I'm spiritual. And consistency felt really nice too. And I like the word congruency at the moment. There's consistency also brings, what you speak is how you feel. And that's about truth, isn't it? When you're operating from who you are, you feel peaceful, you feel you're able to be open, and you help others do the same because that encourages others to feel free. Yeah, and I think my background is in design, and I think it's like an art. I like the idea to stay in this. It's an art and a science. So.
Yeah, it's true.
There's a question, maybe we almost come to time, but this maybe one question that's come up. Do you have any specific advice for retaining empathy and not lowering my vibration following a specific anxiety trigger?
Yeah, I think that we have to have empathy for the soul, basically, no? And understanding that the soul has a full capacity and a full potential, because sometimes we think about empathy with the weakness and the fragility, and we forget that each one of us has an amazing capacity to overcome, to go beyond, and to have this empathy to the soul, which is divine, which has this potential, and so to inspire the person to come out of whatever they are kind of having to face by its own means, and to inspire, to give company, like to be present, and yes, to have understanding, but always kind of doing it from a higher perspective. I think that is the secret, to be able to really to help and not to be trapped yourself also sometimes in the complexity. Because what happens is that nowadays everything is so complex. Like you see one situation and it's impossible really to feel how the person feels it, from where it comes, all the intricate karmic aspects with involved in that. But one thing is for sure, there is always a way out. There is always a learning in that. There is also always something to make the person come out better and stronger and more experienced. And so I think that's what we have to kind of encourage in these situations. Otherwise, if you try to really understand, it's quite difficult because it's complex, it's deep, as Sarah was saying. Sometimes you see the iceberg just from a little point of the iceberg, but it's a huge mountain which is hidden that you don't have a clue of what it is, from where it comes. And so better to go to the essence, which is completely truth. If you try to dissecate the circumstance, the situation, the problem, there is no end to it. So better to go to that absolute truth, which is the essence, which is there, which is beyond, basically, no? It's like the problem is here in this dimension, in this level of personality, roles and form and all of this, but there is an absolute truth which is beyond. And I think that when we go there, automatically we help the person to find out its own ways out of this situation and the problem.
The image of the sun comes to mind. It's like sun is always there, but the clouds come and go, which are the emotions, situations, and it's as if your vision and holding that ultimate truth is helping them to sort of reconnect with that possibility, even not verbally usually, but your feelings. Otherwise, we could be reinforcing the clouds and temporary. So, yeah, thanks for the question. We're happy to hear any follow-up thoughts. So we have, maybe we could create a few minutes if you would like to share commentary on experiencing some of this taking care of the soul.
So we just put our attention inside. We can start breathing deeply. Can put ourselves present. And just doing this, we come in contact with this feeling of peace, which comes from deep inside ourselves. And when we notice this feeling of peace, it grows, it emerges. I am peace. And this peace that I'm experiencing belongs to me. Doesn't depend on anyone, anything outside. It's my original nature. I feel light. My heart becomes bigger. I come in touch with all the love that resides inside myself. And I just keep vibrating this peace and love. My awareness goes beyond situations, people. And I go to this field, this dimension of silence. When I feel myself fulfilled, and I can naturally feel the presence of God. The ocean of love, the source of power. And I just stay in this company, in this experience for some seconds. Which are enough to awaken my own divinity. I feel completely fulfilled. I vibrate this energy around me. And I come back again in 1 second. I come back to the present moment, to the environment around myself, keeping this memory awakened of who I am. An energy, a being of light, like an angel that can spread divine vibrations around. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much. You know, this making it very natural. It's like exercise for the soul. So, new definition of meditation.
Yeah. Should be, like something that we can do anytime, any moment, wherever you are, and not in any specific place, in any specific time, naturally.
Thank you for this opportunity to meet, and a very nourishing, balanced approach and invitation to experiment with for all of us, being the lotus, taking care with the good diet and that cleanliness and honesty and consistency. So some appreciation in the chat, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the day. We're a bit ahead of you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Prashant. Bye. Thank you, all of you, for the opportunity to be with you today.
See you next time.
Bye.